Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, the Honorable Kindiki Kithure, my colleagues in government, fellow Kenyans and participants in this very business-like and short but critical consultation with the President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, I can only say that the PS has done a very good job in running us through the outline of the emerging or evolving foreign policy. But why we thought that it's so important is because we want to be able to domesticate foreign policy. In the middle of this year, when the young men and women of Kenya were raising some concerns, they kept on asking this question: why does the president travel? Not looking at the end result, but why does he travel? It even migrated from why to the mode of travel. And in the process, critical aspects of what emerges out of proper engagement at the highest level was being lost in that conversation. So it is our desire that through this kind of interaction, under your leadership, Your Excellency, we can perhaps coin something that we might call foreign policy machinani, so that we can get the ordinary citizen, the young men and women of this country, to understand why it is important for a nation to engage with the globe. Try and imagine yourself living in a country with a dormant foreign policy. A nation that is like an introvert, does not interact with anybody, does not talk to anybody. What kind of nation would that be? So, as we look at what has happened, the reality is that the President of Kenya, in the 2.5 years or so since he took over, have dramatically reprofiled Kenya's image in the international arena. I can speak with confidence because I've made so many trips. And the question in some of these fora is that, and what does Kenya say? What does Kenya think? That is important. For you, some of you who are politicians here, you know how it feels when you are at a public rally and a particular speaker speaks, and then when he walks away and leaves the arena, and you find the audience disappearing with him. It happens. But Kenya is becoming a pivotal state, a reference center, a nation where people want to know and ask and seek guidance from. That does not come easy, neither does it come lightly. So through this kind of conversation, how do we anchor Kenya's foreign policy? Through this conversation, how do we support it? How do we make sure that the budgeting process of our nation properly supports the foreign policy initiatives, bearing in mind there are also competing interests in other sectors? These are issues that can only come through if we build sufficient consensus and be able to direct and know that what we are looking for has an impact on our people. So, Your Excellency, I was not setting you up, but I was just saying, they were asking, why do you travel? And that was a very telling statement. It meant that there's a communication gap that we need to fill as a nation, so that the bulk of our citizens can understand why international engagements, why meeting international obligations is important, both for our sovereignty, for our security, and for our economic well-being. So I will not say any more, because the President will, we are eagerly waiting to hear from you and to guide us so that the final documentation really captures the mood, the tone, the thought, the punch that you desire for this country. It is now my singular honor to invite the Honorable Kithure Kindiki, our Deputy President, to come and make his remarks, and then invite His Excellency the President.
Your Excellency, President William Ruto, and all the dignitaries present here, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Kenyans, Your Excellency, the last 2 years, you've profiled our country tremendously across the world. No wonder the statements which my brother here, PCS, has made are the sentiments that are not only prevailing in Kenya, but also out there. And that's how it should be. Because, Your Excellency, other than being president and the CEO of our country, you're also our head of state and our chief diplomat, and the embodiment of what Kenya is, its values, and what its interests are. Your Excellency, this forum, and I want to congratulate the Foreign Affairs Ministry led by PCS Musalia and the PSs and everyone who has participated in this. This forum is a point of reflection and introspection on, number one, what is our national interest? And that question we will ask for as long as Kenya exists. It's not a one-off thing that we define and that's it. We have to keep on asking, what is our national interest? And as the ministry has presented in this, through this draft, and the stakeholders who prepared this draft, our national interest lies in some of the most sacred and bedrock principles that are espoused in our Constitution, including, but not limited to, the inviolability of our country. And everywhere, every inch of Kenya, where the flag flies and where the national anthem is sung, that space called Kenya is inviolable. It is the embodiment of our pride and should be protected at all costs. But it's also about our values, which is the software that runs Kenya, our culture, and our aspirations. Thirdly, it's also reflected in the bottom-up economic transformation agenda and Vision 2030, which aspires to provide a more inclusive country and greater sharing of the wealth and the resources of Kenya to benefit the entire population of Kenya, and to pull as many people from our homeland, from dehumanizing poverty and sharing the ecological, natural, and the other resources that are available in our country to the benefit of as many people as we can. Your Excellency, that's the national interest, in my view. But it's also about the security and stability of our country. That leads me, as I move towards the conclusion of these remarks, to also say this, our national interest, is essential to our national survival. And therefore, this foreign policy is about the sustainability of our country in the decades and centuries to come. What is that will make Kenya survive in this very complex, competitive, and insecure world? Many decades when this generation might not be here, many centuries, obviously, when all of us will not be here. Is it not in making sure our country is stable as you continue to lead us, Your Excellency? Is it not in making sure that we protect the resources in our country, make them available to the majority of the citizens, fight corruption and make sure that the national wealth is used to benefit the country, projecting ourselves and selling our image out there as a country which is good for investment, which is good for business, and which can attract the resources from outside this country to come and benefit our people? Those are the questions that this foreign policy review should help us answer. And therefore, I am very, very, very proud as a citizen of this country that we are reflecting on these things at a time like this, and at a time when we are witnessing many changes across the world, the stress around existing multilateral systems, the emergence of plural systems, as has been said here, and how do we harness all these divergent developments for the benefit of our country. And therefore, we will want to listen to Your Excellency and hear what vision you have for us, and how do we take cue, those of us who are serving in your administration, how do we take cue from that vision to help us navigate the interests of Kenya and make sure that we hand over this country to future generations, a stable country, united country, prosperous country that can sustain the shocks that are prevailing today and those that will come in the future. With those many remarks, Your Excellency, I want to request all my colleagues to be upstanding and welcome